Lovely to see you all back.
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good. Hope you're all keeping well. So we've got the new project, which I'll do a little bit of, which is flowers, which was one that got chosen. And yeah, it's nice to see flowers.
On the ballot.
So that's that. So I thought in a minute I'll do some sort of drawing demo, I think, and then go on to painting next week. I was thinking perhaps I'll try and include two projects with this. So with the flowers project, it could be something like, you might want to do like a flower, almost like a flower portrait type painting with maybe one or two, couple of flowers. Or it could be that you might want to do a still life and set up flowers as part of a still life. Or it could be flowers included in like a garden or a landscape. So I was thinking I'll perhaps do a little bit of both. So this can be more like the flower portrait, and then perhaps towards the end of the project I'll do something more like a landscape or a garden. So that's the idea. I brought a few paintings in to show you as well. Some of my summer work. So we had a trip on the boat out to the Red Sands Forts, the Mansell Felts. So it's something that Andy Downs organised. Those of you, I don't know if you know Andy Downs, part of Southend Art Club. So there's about 10 of us went out and painted. So we set off about 5 o'clock in the morning as the tide went out and the sun was coming up. And then we had about an hour in each place. So we did the Red Sands Fort, the Mulberry Harbour from out to sea, and then we went over, had a quick look at the Montgomery over the other side of Kent, did a bit of sketching there, and then that was the end of the pier coming back. Thought I'd share some of the work I've done with it.
Very nice.
That was a really good trip. It's probably about a 10-hour trip. He sketches of people on the boat, and like to it there. He's organising another one. If anybody fancies it, it was really good.
4 o'clock in the morning, and actually down here for the tide. No.
Well, it depends on the tide, doesn't it? It's whenever the tide's around, really. But it just happened that day, that was the time to go out and then come back. Yeah, we were supposed to go in June, and the weather was absolutely horrendous, so it got cancelled then. That would have been a bit later. But yeah, we had a lovely day. So that's that. Yeah, so with this one, I was thinking, so with the Tuesday groups, I did this sort of drawing demo based on this flower. I was thinking, well, it might be quite nice to do something that's more like a compositional drawing. So with this one, I'll just carry on a little bit for a second or two on this one. So I was using this photo, and I've actually got, well, Pauline gave me all her, well not all, but she gave me a lot of her flower photos, so if anybody wants to use the photos, there's quite a few here. I was thinking this is a general drawing thing. The way I would, just to recap how I start that out, just drawing quite lightly, getting an overall shape to start with, perhaps starting in the centre. And then sometimes I've like say for that petal, which would probably come in about here, sometimes just pop in like a centre line, roughly where it's going to be. One or two of the petals, I've changed the shape, made that one a little bit more rounded, because it seemed a bit of an awkward shape. So you might want to just change things a tiny bit. I wouldn't do it too much, but say that one, it might be more pleasing, just have the petal coming out that way more. And then once I've got the guidelines in, it's basically just going in and just really slow, careful observation, just observing the kind of contour shapes of the petals. But I do find that it helps having these, sometimes like a start and finishing point and just a general direction line. Just helps me to keep a bit of structure. And then looking at the shape. So that, yeah, I'll basically just carry that like that. Then I'm thinking about perhaps a watercolour, and I probably would want more than one flower. I think that would be more interesting. I quite like that. I'm not going to make it not going to try for all of them. Sometimes it's quite nice to have a few in the background, but I'm thinking perhaps go for 3, perhaps leave that one out, and perhaps these 2, maybe move that one over this way a little bit. So it's an experiment. So with a compositional drawing, it's quite nice to perhaps, doesn't need to be particularly accurate, but you just want to get a sense of where all the big shapes are going to be and where the light and dark is going to be. So I quite often draw a border to start with, and that way if it needs to go a bit bigger I can make it a bit bigger, I can squeeze it in a little bit. And then within that, again I'll go for this kind of rough approach of thinking that's going to be probably the main character, the big. And the nice thing about this is sometimes like just having odd numbers can work. Also different sizes, not having everything the same size can work quite nicely. Perhaps this one up here. So I might already need to raise that up a little bit. But I like this approach of just feeling your way around a composition. Let me take a tiny bit off there, and then this other one. Let's say I just want to move it over a bit. I don't want it completely overlap. Maybe overlap a little bit. So that would pop in there. Perhaps have a tiny bit more space there. So perhaps something like that. As a show, just kind of making sure it feels nicely balanced, that we've got a bit of space either side. And then you could then go in a little bit. It doesn't need masses of detail. So very quickly sketching something that is an impression of the shapes and the textures I'm seeing there. Something like that. And then I would probably block in some tones then. So these are going to be a bit darker, quite dark under here. And then the same here. It's almost like you've got something you can pop tone in very quickly with, that would work quite nicely. Otherwise, it's almost like a diagram really. You can see that's really taken minimal time, but it's a great way of planning your paintings out. Now I very rarely actually do this in real life, but what I do is, well, I take quite a few boards out if I'm painting. So, you know, if I've got a board that shape, or board that shape, or whatever shape it might be. And quite often, and I think I did this yesterday, I started a couple of paintings quite quick. I started one, you know, got the big shapes in and thought, oh no, that doesn't really quite fit, it doesn't really work, the board's not the right shape. I just abandoned that one or wipe it out very quickly. And it only actually takes a few seconds to do that, and then start another one. So it's worth, you know, incorporating this stage, even if it's, you know, in a separate drawing, as a diagram, you've then got that to refer back to. Or if not, just try out, you know, your composition very quickly on the painting surface you're going to work. But keep it fairly loose, don't go very, very detailed too quickly. And that way, you know, if it was paint, I could just wipe areas back, just move them around, and if it didn't work, the whole lot can go. With oils or possibly acrylics, certainly with oils you can. A bit more difficult with acrylics because it dries quickly. Watercolours, you kind of really need to plan what you're doing, really.
If you were painting that, Paul, would you start with the flowers or would you start with the background leaves?
I'd start with the flowers.
Okay.
I'd say, well, with watercolour, I'd definitely start with flowers, and possibly with oils too. Sometimes I find if I've got too much background and darks around it, if it was watercolours, I've got the green down first and then put the pinks in, there's the danger that the greens would bleed into the pinks.
Yeah.
So I'd rather get all the lighter tones in and then put the greens over the top. With oils, you could get the background in and then, you know, just overlap with the pinks, or the same with acrylics. Yeah. It depends on your paint really and how good you.
See, my natural inclination
Yeah.
would be to do the background first and then the flowers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's,
I think with acrylics you could do that definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really watercolors. You just got to be careful because they're not because they remain soluble. And if I got some pink down and then put, and the green was already there, there's the danger of the green sort of rehydrating and draining into the pink. I think I'm not a great watercolourist. I'm not sort of.
no,
But that's the experience I've had with it.
just my natural thing would be to do background first and then leave a bit of space, not complete background, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to do the flower first, so I'm going to have to develop that.
Yeah. I was thinking, well, I've got a couple of books here I found. I found that one in one of the books. And I thought, well, that's kind of what made me think maybe have a go at Echinacea as a watercolour demo. I doubt I could do anything that nice, but it's quite nice, quite inspiring.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay. Anything? Yeah, all good.